You don't have the book today. Didn't it come out last weekend?
No, actually, which is unfortunate, but it will be out this weekend, so I'll be talking about the Imperial Knights next week, but this week,
Oh, I have an idea. What if you talk about army building? You seem to be, awful at armies, but it's still an idea, right?
that's actually a good idea. I'm not bad at building armies. I just have shit luck and show signs of several brain dysfunctions that cause me to have memory of a goldfish. But still, even if I were bad, it's a very good idea.
Hold on. Dysfunctions? Do you have a brain tumor like I am?
We thought I did for a bit, actually. Not outside the realm of possibility of it happening in the future, but I pray it doesn't. Hell, we also had a scare for testicular cancer and colon cancer as well. Cancer runs in my family a lot, but I think everyone but one has beaten it. But we shouldn't be talking about my family's mutant genetics and insane recovery rates.
Mutant?
Don't you dare, Chaos Convert. You know you destroy your own reality, and you have a game this weekend.
Mutants in the
Okay, so let's talk about how to build a 40k army. So in Warhammer 40,000, there's 3 types of games. 4 if we count combat patrols, but combat patrols are now pre-built armies instead of the 500 points games. So, in 40k, the lowest point battle are the 1000 points games, incursions. Strike Force is the competitive size, and that's a maximum of 2000 points, while Onslaught is the largest at 3000. Age of Sigmar has more sizes as it measures by points of 500 instead of 1000. So, these numbers are the maximum amount you can build an army. You'll obviously be discussing this points max before the game begins. In 40k army build, you only need 2 things. Units up to that number and at least 1 character to be your warlord. Let's talk about characters. There's 2 categories of characters, generic and epic hero. You can have up to 3 of any generic character, but only 1 of each epic hero. I'd like to point out the Death Watch. Death Watch in its official form with the Imperial agents has 4 units. 2 are character units. 1 is the generic, which is the Watchmaster, who you can have 3 of, and 1 is the epic hero, Watch Captain Artemis, which you can only have 1 of. Now, on those generic characters, you're able to give a bonus ability to them sometimes, depending on the detachment you're using. Some detachments only give these enhancements to specific unit types. You'll look at the keywords for these in order to figure out if they apply. Most detachments have 4. Some apply to specific things, some to general things. Epic heroes cannot get enhancements, though older editions called these relics, and I think Crusade still gives relics too, if I remember correctly. Some characters can also attach to units, which is the next thing we need to talk about. These standard units are in 4 categories. Some armies can't take at least 1 of them. Categories are as follows: Battle Line, Dedicated Transport, and Other, which is the normal ass units. You can also have 3 in any army except for Dedicated Transports and Battle Line, which can have up to 6 of them. Now, Dedicated Transports, they must start the battle with some units embarked in them. Transports have their own rules too, which I won't get into. Battle Line guys can do some special stuff in sub-editions with the mission decks. For example, during the Pariah Nexus, Battle Line units could get extra points during some secondaries. Generic units also have other subcategories too: vehicle, infantry, aircraft, and fortification. Those are the ones I can recall off the top of my head. I recommend noting which detachment works best with what category. For example, some detachments want to focus on infantry, while others on vehicles, and some still on transports. It's good to build with these in mind. Of course, keep a good variety of things, but make sure things can fit into the army. For example, if your army is built around melee, it's still a good idea to have some range capabilities, but don't be going out of left field and having a half dozen or more tanks in the army. Of course, avoid fortifications this edition. I think Games Workshop is trying to get rid of them, but going at a weirdly slow rate for it. Some are usable, most aren't worth it. Some are, most aren't. Planes are also rarely worth it. I can think of one that's actually pretty good, and it's the Death Watch one, but planes and hover vehicles follow their own specific rules and that are just insane to keep track of. Now, characters can often attach to a standard unit. When a character can do this, they'll have the leader ability and list a number of units that they can attach to. When attached, they'll give their keywords to the unit. For example, if a librarian unit attaches to a unit of intercessors, the intercessors gain the psyker keyword. Now, there is one more category for units, as I mentioned before, but it is difficult who it applies to. Imperial, Chaos, and Eldar or Drukhari. Allied units are this category. The Imperium can bring the Imperial Agents or the Imperial Knights. Eldar can bring Drukhari and vice versa. Chaos can bring Daemons, Chaos Knights, and maybe certain Chaos Space Marine factions if they're part of a certain Chaos Space Marine faction. Allies are normally brought to fill out a niche that your army doesn't have. For example, my Imperial Knights don't have an infantry, so I'll bring some battle line infantry in order to essentially just do secondaries, which can be maximized to 2 now, but let's not talk about that yet. This is essentially all of what you need to know. You need at least one character up to 2,000 points total for units. Some characters can attach to units and they'll apply some jank. One character must be your general or warlord, and this really gives nothing. Some generic characters can get special enhancements, which will increase their points cost. It's a good idea to have a variety of things while still sticking with the thematics of your detachment. Now keep in mind keywords. For example, Psyker and Psychic weapon abilities are really a weakness. In my opinion, the Psychic weapons should give mortal wounds right out the gate, but that's something else entirely that I could probably do a whole video on. Write that down. But as I said at the beginning of the video, I should be getting the Imperial Knights Codex on Saturday, and you'll hear me cry about my favorite army getting fucked. Again.
You gonna be okay, man?
We'll see. Shove off.